to Squadding Quads. Today we've got the BetaFPV Pavo20 Pro DJI O4 Pro version. Now, over the next half an hour or so, we're going to answer all of your questions about this. Wait a second. This drone. Can it freestyle? Can it cinematic? Is it good for newbies? Can professionals get any use out of it? How to install the O4 Pro? Does a newbie need throttle expo? What rate should you run to have it on a decent freestyle tune? And probably many, many more questions that I can't even think of right now because the sun is out. And as you all know in the UK, that is such a rarity. Go grab yourselves a drink. Let's go. Let's grab the lowdown then of what's included in the box with the new BetaFPV Pavo20 Pro DJI O4 Pro edition. First of all, we're going to remove the outer cover and then we're going to slide the box open and delve deep inside. The first thing that you're going to be greeted with is this new canopy. This is specific for the DJI O4 Pro and it seats the camera a little bit further back and obviously adds the 2 screw holes that you need to secure that camera properly. There's still no soft mounting with it, but I've found that if you have too much soft mounting or too little, it can be a problem. So the fact that the canopy itself is actually soft mounted to the frame does seem to resolve that. Also in the box, you've got an LED strip, you've got a spare set of propellers, you've got the screws that you need to put it all together, and of course you've got the fabled USB-C adapter. This was something that I initially really hated when I first got into BetaFPV products, but actually as the years have gone by, I don't mind them as much now. It saves a little bit of weight and it means that we don't have to deal with the USB micro. So actually, as much as I used to hate them, I don't particularly mind them nowadays. Now you'll see from the frame here, it's already got the DJI O4 or O3 plug, the same plug basically, and the canopy will go on this way. Now there's a few things that we're going to need to do before we can actually attach the canopy on. We're going to have to prepare the O4, we're going to have to plug in the plug, and then we're going to have to prepare the frame by adding the grommets to the frame to soft mount the actual canopy itself. So let's get on with it. Job number 1 then is to grab hold of your DJI O4 Pro. There's no need to remove the antennas. This was a O4 Pro I took out of another drone and I removed the antennas before actually checking, and actually you don't need to because you've got slits in those antenna mounts. So all you need to do, the canopy is bendable. It's a case of just bending it a little bit, sliding it in one side, then bending it the other side, and then just dropping it in, as you can see, like that, and it'll just sort of fold around it, and then just slide both antennas into each one of the associated slots, and you have essentially prepared your O4. Now what you need to do is prepare your O4 camera. You need to make sure the word DJI on the back of that camera is facing the normal way, so it's not upside down as you put it in, and that will ensure that your camera is in the right way around rather than upside down. It's just a case then of getting the screws that came with your O4 Pro for the camera and screwing them into the associated holes and adding the camera angle or the amount of tilt that you desire. This is a personal preference, and this is just the angle that I chose. There's no right or wrong answer to this. Be careful you don't over tighten those screws, but also don't under tighten them as well. We check here now to see if the Gen 1 version of the Cinewhoop ND filters will fit, and unfortunately because of the way the canopy is, they won't. So you'll need to get either the GEP RC ND filters or the Gen 2 of the Cinewhoop filters, and shortly I'll show you what it looks like with the Gen 2 Cinewhoop. Now what we're going to need to do now is grab hold of this pack, which has got all our screws in it and our grommets to prepare the frame. And grab yourself one of these rubber grommets, as you can see in my hand now. And you want to place the longer side down, so the short side up, and that will give you more dampening. And the easiest way to do this, there's a couple of ways you can do this. Essentially, you just put it in the hole and just keep twirling it, and eventually it'll sort of slide in. Or I can show you in a second. Another way of doing it is if you just sort of get it half in a little bit and then just ease the rest in with a screwdriver, but be super careful that you don't rip it, obviously, because it is just made of rubber. I do know that some of you guys do struggle with this. It can be done, you just need to persevere with it. But if you are really, really struggling, another way of doing it is going to be like this that I'll show you now. Once you've got it half through the hole, you can then just ease that screwdriver into it and sort of just push it through. And then once it's sort of clicked through, it's a case of just put the screwdriver through the middle and it will help take the rest of it through. And once all 4 holes are then prepared, like we can see here now, we then need to grab hold of our prepared canopy with the O4 Pro screwed in and ready to go. We need to get a hold of the wire that's coming out of the frame of the drone and have a look and make sure it goes in the right way. Now, unfortunately, one thing I didn't account for is the fact that it's going to be on the inside of the drone. So we just put the cable in. I don't need to particularly show this on camera. I don't think it's just putting a cable into a hole, and then I'll show you how to put it all back together, and yeah, away we go. So once we've got it in, it's just a case of sliding it back in as we slid it back in originally, and making sure that all your wires are not being snipped or nipped. And once that's done, obviously you just turn the drone upside down, you align the 4 holes on the bottom of the canopy with the 4 holes that go through it. Take the longer screw that I'll show you in a second and place the longer screw in the pack through, and then obviously just screw it in. Easiest way, or the best way to do it, is to go corner to corner. So start at the front left, go to the front right, then go to the front right, go to the back right, and it just spreads that load more evenly. And you've done it. You've done everything you need to do. Now there is an additional step if you want to install that LED strip, and we'll come to that in a second. On the other side of the drone, sometimes tucked into the flight controller, you'll find this wire that you can see I've now connected to this LED strip. Plug it into the LED strip, and then what you're going to want to do is the LED strip actually has double-sided tape on it. Now you need to be super careful that you don't remove the whole tape, so just peel off a little bit, and once you've peeled off a little bit, make sure that it's still sticky on the LEDs. As long as it is, it's literally then just a case of following it around like this with your finger, pushing it down. Because it's onto plastic, it'll adhere quite easily. And then once you get to the end, you'll see, look, you've actually got too much LED strip. So line it up as best you can, and then it's just a case of grab hold of your snippers and just snip any excess off, making sure that it's all down first before we actually do that. And once we're happy with the distance that we've got and the coverage that we've got, it's a case of just snip off any excess. And now you've installed your LED lights. Lovely and simple. And we're almost ready to go. I would recommend, before you go any further than this step, is to make sure that these LEDs work. Now you can plug in the USB because they work off 5 volts, and once you've connected to your PC, the lights will illuminate. Or you can do what I've done here and just grab hold of your LiPo, just plug them in and just test it. And then obviously, as you can see here, I'm just tidying everything up and making sure that all the wires are nice and neatly tucked away before we try any sort of flying with it. I noticed on the ELRS that it was running 3.3.0, so I decided to update it. And this is how we did it. We opened up the beta. No, we didn't. We opened up the ELRS configurator and we selected BetaFPV 2.4 GHz and then the BetaFPV 2.4 GHz all-in-one RX. I was going to add my Wi-Fi to it, but then I realized I'd done it from previously. And you can see here, I've selected binding phrase. The drone is plugged in. We'd hit the drop down to find out where it's plugged into, and then we press flash. And all being well, it will now just flash and it's done. And as you can see, it started the process and it's counting up the percentage points as to when it's done. And it's as easy as that. We've added a binding phrase to it, so we don't need to do the Wi-Fi route. It will now automatically connect to any controller that we've got with the same bind phrase, and we've updated it in one go as well. And now we move in to Betaflight to have a look at the settings, and we can see we've got an MSP set up, we've got a serial port set up, we've got arming set to 180 degrees, we've got air mode on, we've got LED strip, and we've got OSD on. So first few pages, absolutely fine, no problems at all. Coming down to power and battery, we need to have this set to 4.4 volts because we are going to be using LIHVs. So what that does is stop it thinking that it's a discharged 4S and instead shows it as a fully charged LIHV. Our failsafe is going to be set to drop because this doesn't have a GPS on it. And then we're going to come down to our PID tuning. Anybody that needs a copy of the PID tune, here it is. This is a standard BetaFPV PID tune. Pause the video, take a screenshot. Again, the filters, pause the video, take a screenshot as you need. Then we're going to move in to our rates. And I will tell you what I do with this, but basically to make it snappy, we're going to set the sensor sensitivity to 10, and then we're going to set it to 1670 on the roll and the pitch, and I think 1300 on the yaw. That will make it really, really snappy at the end points of the throttle. And if you need to add expo, add expo. And then we come down to our modes tab, and as I've already taught you guys, the easiest way to do this is where it says aux 1, 2, 3 or 4. Once the drone is connected to your controller, if you just change that to auto and press the button that you want, you can then select whichever button on your controller that you want to select whichever one of these modes that you like. And if we look further down, it does say user 1. That's to turn on and off the LED lights. Some people won't necessarily need to turn them off, but if you're ever going to use this for professional filming, and you know, spoiler alert, I have done that with the previous Pavo20 Pro, you will need to turn those LEDs off, especially if you're on a dark film set, because otherwise you're just going to radiate light. The director's not going to be very happy with you, but your camera won't be very happy with you either, because especially on a really dark set where you're trying to get those inky blacks and make things look really, really nice, that LED strip is just going to completely saturate your camera with blue or whatever color LED strip you decide to install, because BetaFPV do have different ones available for you to buy. I think blue is what they send out as standard, because that's like their company color, but there is a red one, there is a green one, I think there's a white one as well, or there's obviously third-party ones available. If you want the brightest of bright available, my boy over there at flyhighfpv.com will sort you out with some incredibly bright LEDs. There's been a lot of chatter in recent weeks over throttle expo and whether or not it should be used, whether or not you're a bad pilot if you use it, whether you should just get good. And I'm here to tell you that it's a tool, and if you need to use it, you can use it. And this is how I would recommend setting it up. Now, this will be beneficial to those guys and girls who can't control their altitude just yet, and they need a little bit of help from bouncing up and down. It's also a great tool if you need to fly in a really tight enclosed space with a larger whoop, such as the 2.2 inch Pavo20 Pro, for example. And what we're going to do is we are going to set our throttle midpoint. And you saw at the start, I was hovering the drone to find out where the midpoint is. And there's two ways of doing this. You can either do it on the goggles and set the OSD element of throttle position up and have a look at when you sort of just sat in the air without going up or down, or you can record yourself like I did there, find out where the midpoint is and set it in the following settings. And what you need to do is you need to go into beta flight, you need to go into HID tuning, then you need to go into your rates and filters, and as we can see, it's on the right hand side. We need to change the throttle midpoint to what we saw either in the goggles or on the controller, and it was around about 30%. So we'll reduce that to 30%, and then we'll add on loads of expo, and you can even add more than what I've done here if you need to. On the first flight, you'll see an example of how easily controlled the altitude is with that throttle expo, and it's a difficult one because obviously I didn't take my stick cam, but also the other problem is I can control my altitude. I have been flying for many years, so it's easier for me to do it, and the demonstration would be with somebody who couldn't do that before and after. I just don't have that facility. I don't have anybody to film with at the moment who isn't able to control their altitude that we could do the test before and after, but hopefully in the coming weeks that's something that I can actually arrange. And that's what I would recommend for you guys who do struggle to control your altitude or who need more controllable flight for indoor filming. Add some throttle expo. It doesn't make you a worse pilot by adding expo. It doesn't make you a better pilot by not needing expo. It's a tool, use it, pick it up when you need it and drop it when you don't. So this is flight number 1, and frustratingly, I actually forgot my stick cam, but here we're actually demonstrating how good using throttle expo is if you do struggle with your sort of throttle control by just taking off and going straight through that gap without any issue at all. Now, sure, I do have fairly decent throttle control and I don't actually need throttle expo to use it, but the point is if you don't have it and you do need it, it's a tool like anything else in FPV. It's available to you and it's there, so you might as well just use it. So that's what that looks like. It's just really frustrating because I'll hold my hands up and say I am an idiot. I completely forgot my stick cam and I wasn't able to record it. But that's just one of those things. Now, I'm going to go quiet and I'll leave the rest of this flight for you guys to enjoy. We're flying at a park. It was a fairly busy day. The kids on the right-hand side there absolutely love this drone. Because of the LEDs on it, everybody could see it. Nobody was surprised by it. Nobody was annoyed by it, not even the dog walkers. The kids loved it. The kids wanted to see it more, so we took it in a few times, close, but at a safe height. If you look now, this kid comes to try and grab it, so we just go over the top and then we move away and then we go back. And you can hear them shouting all the time, bring it back, bring it back. And it was really nice to see. So the good thing is we know that this is a decent park ripper. It's not too loud. It's got enough performance for you to be able to get out of the way if you get into trouble, but it's not too loud that it'll annoy people. And that ultimately is, in this day and age, a real blessing. So in the meantime, like I say, I'll stay quiet. I'll let you enjoy the rest of this flight, but just be aware that when I do go near these kids and stuff, it's because they're asking me to go back. I have got a spotter with me. Everything was safe, everything was legal, and most importantly, everybody was having a good time. Right, enjoy the rest of the flight. And for flight number 2, we go back to the nature reserve. This is a lovely technical course. Now, I don't expect, and I didn't expect for this drone to have any problems here whatsoever. One thing that we did really want to test though, because there is quite a lot of interference from these power lines, from the trees, from the sort of rolling hills, is whether or not it picks up a decent enough signal with that SPI receiver. And the simple answer is yes, it does. We was able to go all the way to the back here without any problems whatsoever, skimming the trees. We even go over the power lines at one point because we know we've got enough signal, we know we've got enough power, and we know that we're safe enough to do it. The point is, at no point whatsoever here does this signal have any issues. And that is ultimately one question that you guys do ask quite a lot, is how far can you take these drones? Now legally, and I'll always have to give the boring legal answer first, but legally, it'll take you as far as you can see it. The real question as to how far it will take you, well, we can check penetration, and we can look at charts, and we can look at specifics as to how far legally or otherwise you can fly. And the main thing, like I say, is that penetration. Will it go through all these trees and power lines and stuff? And the simple answer is, yep, without any problem whatsoever. Now, obviously, I'm using the Radiomaster GX12, which is Gemini, but this is a single band receiver. So we've got no Gemini here. This is just your standard ELRS, and it's absolutely rock steady as you pretty much would expect with the ELRS these days. Now, what I'm going to do again, I'm going to go quiet, and I'm going to let you enjoy the rest of this flight. And then towards the end, we'll deal with the community spotlight, and we'll move on to the final destination. Enjoy. I'm moving on to the community spotlight, and first of all, I want to start by thanking our incredible Patreon members, patreon.com/squaddingquads. Trinity FPV, Eddie Emery, Ola Bergervel, Dianas Adventure Printing, SOS Death Valley Creations, and Drone Life. You guys are absolute legends. Thank you so much for helping move this channel forward. I'd also like to thank It's Luke on Instagram for being a member there, and moving on to the YouTube members now. I'd like to start by thanking David Sainty, Skydar, Airbender FPV, Han Solo, ABJ, Raining Squad FPV, Lifestyle FPV, SOS Death Valley, Trinity FPV, 420 FPV, GNCRC, Hello Outlaw, Mr. Oreo, Flyzone FPV, JVIP Gaming, Axon, Simca, Chaser FPV, Tim S, FPV Addict, Droney, Christopher Clayton, Silicon Photography, Club Alexandro, Boy Wonder FPV, Connor Clark, Doper FPV, Mark Duplex, Harry M Photography, JR FPV, James III of Boston, Phil Anderson, Not Here, Onyx FPV, Only Drones, and Barry Morgan. Thank you all so much for helping push this channel forward to try to take us to the next step. Every single one of you who supports this channel, it means the absolute world to us. Thank you all so much. Now, let's move on to your comments. Flyfish Robbie says, love the flying, smooth tune. Always amazes me when a manufacturer turns up to a review of theirs that I've done. Thank you so much for the support that you've shown the channel, Robbie, and everybody else over there at Flyfish. Cobb Alexandro says, nice intro. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. I'm trying some different ones with each of these videos, so if some of them miss the mark and some of them are better than the others, please do let me know, and hopefully by the end of it, we'll have some good ones. And the final comment is, I don't dare assemble my own drone since I'm very clumsy. That I can completely understand and sympathise with. However, we are going to give a Flyfish 55 away. Completely, a complete finished build with a DJI O4 Pro, an F7, an 8S ESC, a Diversity Maytech receiver. Absolutely everything will be included with it. Now, it will be a paid competition, but this is going to be a prize that's going to be worth about £600 or $800, 700 euros, and it's only going to cost you €1 to enter. So, you know, it's if you win it, ultimately you're going to save yourselves quite a lot of money. So, yeah, keep your eyes peeled. We should have that out at the weekend. Right, let's go back to me and find out what I think of my final thoughts of the Pavo20 Pro, DJI O4 Pro. This was the review of the BetaFPV Pavo20 Pro, DJI O4 Pro version. What do we think? Wait, that's not it. Hang on. That is the DJI O4 Pro version of the BetaFPV Pavo20 Pro. What do we think of it? Well, as you can see, it will cinematic really well. If you add a little bit of throttle expo for you newbies, despite what any expert may say, it will help you make this into a lovely cinematic beast. By also adding wild rates like I've added, once you get out of that expo range, it will then freestyle really, really well. If you've got a Pavo20 Pro with a DJI O3, it's probably not worth an upgrade. However, if you want the latest and greatest, the Pavo20 Pro as a base flies really well. The 2.2-inch props really give it some thrust and some lift. It will freestyle lovely, it will cruise lovely, it will do basically everything you want. It actually flies a lot better than what I would expect a drone that's got ducks on it to actually fly. I'll leave a link down below. BetaFPV did send me this free of charge. No money's exchanged hands, and they haven't told me that I've got to say anything or it has to be in any way, shape or form positive or anything like that. The link down below will be an affiliate link though, and it does help the channel if you can use it, but if you don't, it's no problems. Now, I'm also going to give away this. Now, I pointed to that there because I forgot to bring it with me, but that's a BetaFPV Pavo20 Pro O4 Pro frame kit. All you need to do is leave a comment in the description down below. I've got Boy Wonder and Little Wonder with me. Give me a word that they need to leave in the comments down below, boys. Leave the word Pro in the comments down below. And 14 days from the day this review goes live, we will draw a winner. Doesn't matter where you live in the world, it's a free to enter competition. We do have a paid competition, which I haven't quite announced the details of yet. I have been quite poorly, but we've got this review out now, so we'll move to try and sort that out over the weekend. If you've got any questions whatsoever, drop them in the comments down below. Peace out.